بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. The true great purpose of a believer is to get the nearest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A sincere believer, a mindful believer, a believer who always thinking about the true reality of life, the true existence is their longing is to be nearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us many examples in His book with His words. One of the great examples that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala detailed into the Quran in very phases or places, which is the story of the magician of the Fir'aun that we have read in Surah Al-A'raf, and it is also mentioned in Surah Taha and in Surah Al-Shu'ara and so on. So one of the great aspects in the story to help us understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gift upon us and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without His guidance, without His help, will be already far from the path. For here the story, there is something that they have said that when we reflect and contemplate on what they said, it's really surprising, amazing, and we wish truly, sincerely to be on their path. When they get threatened by Fir'aun, and the threatening, it was not an easy threat, because we need to put ourselves into the picture to understand and put yourself there. So Fir'aun, he terrorized them and he threatened them to cut their hand and their legs in the opposite side, live in front of everyone, then crucify them on the trunk of the palm tree. It's like, he's Fir'aun, direct, an artist in persecution, la'anahullah. They said, Inna ila rabbina munqalibun. We are returning back to Allah. The other ayah, قال لا ضير, no harm. It's like, we don't care. Which is like, make them more furious. The tool of persecution is to have them kneel. Them, they said, لا ضير. Inna ila rabbina munqalibun. So here there is two things, which are the two aspects to help us to contemplate. If we work on it, then we're going to have ourselves really getting to that level of the Sahara. Now, if you take two steps back and you look at the Sahara, what was their worldview, what were their dreams? They were nobody, selected by Fir'aun. And Fir'aun imagined the emperor, imagine yourself in the situation called by the emperor that nobody can see. I mean, someone is like, he's God. Literally, in that society, he is claiming that he is the God. قال أنا ربكم, I say. So to meet the emperor, and the emperor is need of their service, they asked, are we going to have a reward? He said, the reward? You're going to be the nearest to me. Then they find, look, subhanAllah, how in our heart things works. So the glittering of this worldly life, the high status, and the pride and the honor. Indeed, in Surah Al-Shu'ara, what he said, قَالُوا بِعِزَّةِ فِرْعَوْنَ, by the might and the honor and the greatness of Fir'aun. What made them change? So, subhanallah, there is a fight within the self. You want to gain honor and strength from who? With your own status? With your own study? With your own career? That's how you want to be a great person, seen by others, famous, praised. People, they compliment you. You are great, you're doing a great job, you've been like successful. All of that, that's the Sahara before meeting Musa. And many of us, I mean, if not all of us, we suffer from such a thing. And that's the obstacle for us to get near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how can we get rid of that such a thing? To have that courage. So the fear to not make it, the fear to lose the honor, the fear to be looked by people, belittled because we didn't make it, we didn't get to that position. That is what trapping us. That is, subhanallah, what is imprisoning us, putting us in a cage. And you will not be able to find khushu' in your salah. Abadan. Ever. Then they broke this cage. La dhayr. No harm. I mean, he threatened them to kill them. No harm. Inna ila rabbina munqalibun. قال لن نؤثرك على ما جاءنا من البينات والذي فطرنا, by the one who created us. At that moment, dear brother, respected sister, they get the certainty that they're going to meet Allah. Do you have it? They get the certainty that Fir'aun, this big tyrant in front of Allah, is nothing but less than a bug. Then they broke that cage of fear. Why? Because they are certain that the Almighty, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is with them. When they make the sujood, قالوا آمنا برب العالمين. Imagine the Lord of the whole world, the Lord of Fir'aun, the Lord of the army of the Fir'aun, the Lord of the land that Fir'aun is governing, the Lord of everything, Allah. How can we boost such iman in our heart? And if you do, then you break off the cage of the society that holding us, subhanAllah, imprisoned. Two things. Therefore, do you really love Allah? Then seek the might and the honor from Allah. Inna al-izzata lillahi jami'a. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blamed the hypocrite. Why? Because they're finding ways to find support, to find the pride, to find honor from where? From the disbeliever. قَالَ يَبْتَغُونَ عِنْدَهُمُ الْعِزَّةَ فَإِنَّ الْعِزَّةَ لِلَّهِ جَمِيعًا. Then what he said about such people in the next ayat, if you read them in the next page, قَالَ إِنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ فِي الدَّرْكِ الْأَسْفَلِ مِنَ. They are in the lowest level of hellfire. Why? Because they were seeking the izzah from other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which made them to corrupt all their action, corrupt their perception, corrupt, subhanAllah, the way even to deal and to really betray their brother believer and sister believers, which is happening as you see it today in the arena of the international affairs as you see it, without no comment. For subhanAllah, what happened? When they realize, because they are the skilled one, and you know the story, when they realize Musa, what he's been saying has been proven by what? By the rod or the staff turn into flesh. This is serious. Then Musa is. So all what Musa said then get, subhanAllah, into their heart, boost their iman, felt, subhanAllah, so that humility to Allah, then jumped, subhanAllah, on their faces in sujood. Is there anything that happened to us when you are connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you feel like, subhanAllah, go to sujood? The Prophet ﷺ, he taught us sujood al-shukr. How many of us you remember sujood al-shukr? You have good news. What do you say? Oh, that's great. No, not great. Go into sujood. Why you don't go to sujood? Why you don't make shukr? The Sahara of Fir'aun, they made sujood. قال فألقي السحرة. ألقي, subhanallah, they subhanallah, they fell on their faces prostrating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ألقي السحرة ساجدين قالوا آمنا برب العالمين رب موسى وهارون. Fir'aun get mad. I mean, how this is happening? It's beyond his, small mind, is beyond his governance, is beyond everything. These two people, this group that he brought them to be a tool to defeat Musa, they became, subhanAllah, against him. Now, how they brought all these beautiful words. That's the most shocking. لا ضير إن إلى ربنا منقلبون إنا نطمع أن يغفر لنا ربنا. We are desiring, hoping that Allah will forgive our sins. Can you imagine? What changed them? It is the sujood. The sujood, it changed them. When you are sincere to Allah and you make sincere sujood to Allah, when you just lift your hand, Allah then with you. That's it. He will give you, support you with the speech. He will give you support with the, subhanAllah, the help, strengthen your iman. And He give you such a power that you become, subhanAllah, stronger and higher than any mountain. With humbleness and with humility to Allah. That's what happened to this great lion, which they were nothing, nobody, but with the sujood make them great people. And when we think about it, now how can we get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala closer? Applying what the Sahara they did. Break off the cage of fear and have to seek truly, really the izzah from Allah, and then realize with certainty that you might meeting Allah tomorrow. Not in 100 years or 50 years or, undetermined time. No, it might be tomorrow. It might be that you go sleep and you will be with the angels. You don't even wake up. How many people they died in their sleep? Yeah? That's the certain. Inna ila rabbina munqalibun. That's why the Prophet ﷺ teaching us, in your sujood, make it like your last sujood. Can you imagine it's like your last sujood? How focus you put, how hard you will be putting to be closer to Allah Rabbul Alameen. So, the more you increase the veneration of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your heart by what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us in the Quran, like this example, you see all our life will change and we become true free people. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to liberate our heart from all these cages of fear and to be the closest to Allah by His leave. Wa ila salati yarhamukumullah.